Hello and welcome to another edition of Platform TV. All right, thank you guys for joining us today. We have an exciting topic today. It's called How to Get the Right People on Your Team. Pretty exciting. So Pastor Tom Schumacher is with me today. He's my co-host. Welcome, Pastor Tom. Tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all.
Well, I live up on the Thai-Burma border with my wife, Elizabeth, my son, Jeremiah, and of course all of my family. They're part of the extended team, minister to the Burmese group on the other side, and so excited to be here today.
Yeah, you know, let me ask you a question first of all, Pastor Tom. Do you like sports? Are you into sports at all?
Yes, I grew up playing all types of team sports, whether it was baseball, football, basketball, and I love sports. It was great. It was a huge part of my life.
So did you ever get on a team where all the kids wanted to be the guy that shot the basket or did the three-pointer or, scored that goal or whatever? Did you ever have everybody on the team like that?
Yeah, I had that basketball team. Kind of like, hey, you want to throw the ball over to me once in a while?
Did you guys win a lot of games or not really?
Of course, it was always afternoon basketball, so teams were always switching, but you kind of always knew who the individuals were, and we say hog the ball, right?
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Yeah, in basketball they have a term called the dream team. It's like the superstars. All the superstars are on the team, but actually the reason that they are able to get to victory is because they're able to function together as a team. You don't got the one guy who's just doing everything, and then everyone else is just whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So even though everybody has skills, they've learned to work together and put those skills into the team, you know what I mean, to pull together.
Yes, and I think just from observation, watching that, it just takes a good coach.
That's right.
A good leader, somebody that can see things, put it together, and help it function efficiently, and you'd be surprised what you can actually put together with individuals that might not be as good as other individuals, but they work together.
Yeah, we love those movies, where the underdog team that can't do anything, they just reach inside themselves and the coach just gets it done at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting because the coach is important. If we don't have a winning team, maybe we should first of all look at ourselves as the coach. Are we coaching our team to victory? Are we doing a good job coaching?
Yeah, that's true. And I think if the coach can, and we'll be getting into that, if they can understand the type of individuals they have around them on their team, it will really help them function what he's dreaming about.
Yeah. We have two amazing coaches today with us that are coming onto the show. Why don't you go ahead and introduce them, please?
Yeah, I would like to introduce Pastor Al Purvis and Pastor Rich Conti. Pastor Al Purvis came here 30 years ago with his wonderful wife, Terry. He's been here for a long time. We're excited.
Thanks.
Been a real father in the Lord to so many of us. And Pastor Rich and Pastor Ning, 25 years plus, I know at least in the Philippines, developed a lot of great churches. I know they got over 25, some 30 churches that they've been able to plant. And so, we're going to ask them some questions about Dream Team or team ministry.
Yeah, how to get the right people on your team. So you guys have built some awesome and amazing dream teams, So let's ask the first question, what does the right person look like? What are you looking for?
Well,
What's
I
the
think
beacon?
the beacon, I think if we could do a crowd pan shot, you would see the right people here. You have to develop a relationship with them, obviously, to even know if they're the right people, and that's a big thing. There's a lot of indications that all stem back to relationship, and I think the right person. Well, sometimes it's easy to point out the wrong person. Normally, the person that comes and says, "I just want to carry your bags," that's the wrong person. and you can tell by what comes out of the mouth, really, whether they're really serious about that, or do I really want to come and learn? You can't have the right person who already knows everything. They just don't exist. That person who knows everything you need them to know, or has the right credentials, does not exist. And they have to become someone who's willing to learn.
Okay. That's Rich.
Yeah, I think the ideal the perfect team member would be someone who not only catches and understands the vision, what you're trying to accomplish, but also has your heart, has not only the goals in mind that you want to accomplish, but they have your heart as well. And then also initiative. People who take initiative to find out what are the needs and to fill those positions, to fill those needs without having to be pushed, without having to be prodded. Those are some of the things I look for in a good team player.
Now, is that something that over the years you've been able to develop, that you're able to look and see somebody comes and you can say, I can see this person maybe wouldn't work, or I can see that he would work? I mean, does that take a lot of years to develop?
Yes, but I don't think that's really so much the key, Tom, as how are you going to get the people, the right people, or get them to be the right people.
Yeah.
Over the years, you'll find that you rely less and less on finding the right people and more on building the right people. And so we're at the point now in the ministry with the experience we've had, both of us have had hundreds of people that we've worked with over the years on our team, some good, some bad. The good ones are still here, most of them. Some of them retire or move on to other ministries. You're happy to release them and you're still in contact with them and encourage them in their ministry. But then you've got those ones that came with, you know, an agenda or something. And usually people that come with an agenda of their own don't realize they have an agenda of their own even. They think in their own minds, they think they're coming to serve, but they're really not necessarily. They've got a preconceived idea of what the ministry should be like, or the organization should be like, and a preconceived idea that kind of dictates their view of you, their judgment of you. So I did a staff message one time called, "What? This isn't what I expected." Because you get people coming and then they discover that, hey, this isn't what I expected. It doesn't matter what you expected. It's never going to be what you expected. That's not why you came. So, and I think over the years we've learned more and more to find people who need to be developed or want to be developed, want to learn, and do it that way. A couple of years ago, some of our staff, including you, said, you know, Dad, have a look around the ministry. The people that are actually doing something are people that came up through the ranks of the ministry, through the Bible school. So we very seldom, very seldom, and probably never again will accept anyone on the team who hasn't come through the Bible school, just because that's our process. And it's not about Bible school, it's about coming through our vision and working from the bottom up in the vision. And so we find that that's really the key. That's the process that we use. It's just not worth it anymore to bring people on in a risky, you know, well, maybe they'll work out. Nah, just don't do it. We had to in the beginning. You have to in the beginning because you just need help. But once you've got it developed and you've got the culture set, you've got to have people that are willing to fit into the culture.
So you're not really looking for that superstar slam dunker at this point. You're looking to find someone that's willing to be built.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, we learned that right from the very beginning. The first two girls that we had help us in Thailand, they were sort of from a Christian family, but they weren't born again. And they were university students, and they came knowing nothing, and they allowed us to train them, and they really became part of our family. In fact, we're still in touch with the two girls today, 35 years later. Like, it's quite amazing. And, you know, still promoting them. They're excited they're promoting us. And because they were able to become absolutely 100% trustworthy and follow the vision to a T. In fact, they told me that when you're gone, what we do is we ask ourselves, what would Al do in this situation? And that's what we do it. And so that's what you need.
What about something that someone can do that might end up disqualifying them from the team? Have you ever had to just kick somebody right out of the team?
I think, again, it's just what Pastor Al said earlier. People that come with their own agenda, they have, you know, they want to be on your team, but they want to do their thing. I think that's one. So people who come, usually it boils down to arrogance and greed. Those two things you got to really watch for. If somebody is backbiting, criticizing not only the leadership but even the other team members, that would for me that would disqualify them. Somebody who's just in it for personal gain, those are the kind of things you watch for. That would disqualify them.
How would you cast your vision to, let's say, somebody who's probably not one of the team members, but maybe a little bit outside of that, to bring them into that place because you can see something in them. You see potential in them, it's there, but to bring them in to eventually to promote them to a place where you would think you could have them part of the team.
Yeah, well, that's where I think for our process in Thailand, it is the Bible college, because we live with them in the same building, 24/7. And if you want to know if somebody fits or not, have them live with you. You'll soon find out. And so through that process, but really when it comes down to it, the key is that you have to build a culture that is so strong and so clear. You know, we call it vision, whatever. That your culture is so strong and clear that there's a cultural pressure that comes on anyone that joins the team. In other words, if you've got 10 people that know that we're going this way, and one person comes along and wants to go this way, they won't be able to pull the 10.
Right.
But if you do that with your first person, you got trouble, you know. But once you get that momentum, and that's really key, to build the place, the culture to that momentum where the culture dictates what everybody else does. And then it kind of takes care of itself after that.
So how do you deal with somebody, that one person that's going this way? You know, maybe they're not affecting others on the team so much, or maybe they are to a certain degree, but if they're going this way, how can you turn a bad team member into a good team member?
I think it really depends. I think sometimes you can turn a bad team member into a good team member. The first thing you got to look for is are they teachable,
Right.
right? So, you know, some people may be doing things that they don't even realize are not in flow with what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. So I think you gotta, again, it's about relationship. Spend time with them, talk to them. If they're teachable, then there's hope. If they're not teachable, there's not much hope.
Yeah, that's so true. You've got to have people that are willing to really give their lives to the vision. And honestly, that's one of the things that I find most astounding in the body of Christ, is that even looking around this room, I see so many people that have given their lives to the vision that God has given us. To me, that's very humbling as well, that someone would decide to invest their entire future, their life, their family, and everything they have into what I say. And so, but when you see that, now you've got someone that you can pass the ministry on to. And they're really the succession plan, and you know, they're the ones that are really carrying it. And in fact, nowadays, I think both for Pastor Rich and myself, we have so many people carrying so much of the ministry that there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't even know about, and yet it's going on from the things that are in our hearts.
Is there do you have kind of a, I want to say it this way, a line in the sand where you'd say, well, it's just, I've been too long with this person, team member, it's just not going to work no more. Right? Do you ever put something out there, so to speak? If he does this, that's it. I got to tell him he's gone. I mean, do you do that?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe Rich, you have more of an idea what their line is. I think some of us are more flexible than others, but there isn't there? There's a point where you just can't take anymore.
If you've given somebody multiple chances, you know, obviously if somebody makes a mistake one time, you're not going to just kick them out of the ministry, right?
Right.
But if they make mistake after mistake after mistake, and you've brought correction after correction after correction, there does come a point when, you know, hey, look, this is just not working out. It's probably better for you to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Have you ever had to do that a lot of times? Have you had to do that a lot of times? Have you had to do that? Have you had to say there's the door?
Yeah, certainly. That's a very, you have to be very ginger in your approach to that. Particularly where we come from as missionaries. For example, if we had someone come from the homeland, wherever that may be, to work with us in Thailand, and it didn't work out, if we send them packing, they will do great damage to the reputation of the ministry. They'll go home and just spread all kinds of ugly stuff. And so, even though that would be their responsibility, sometimes it's wiser to bless them and move them to Chiang Mai or something. Release them, you know. And in fact, God and I have a deal that we made a long time ago, and that is when someone turns out to be ugly in the ministry, someone that you've given a position of leadership or authority in the ministry, if they turn out to be, they're causing problems, that God will speak to them and he will call them to some wilderness place, and then they'll come and talk to me and say, Pastor Al, you're probably not going to like this, but God is telling us to go to Bachilek or whatever, no, someplace, and I'll say, well, that's great. We'll bless you when you're ready to go. We'll pray for you, and off you go. And then they'll say, well, I can't tell if you're angry about that or happy. And I just say, yes.
Yeah. So describe some of your best team members and what it is that they bring to the team that's so vital, that makes them such a great team player.
It's a lot of things we've already talked about, right? Pastor Al talked about people who would make the same decision that you would make even though you're not there. I could tell you about Antoinette, who's our chief intercessor, definitely our top best team leader that we've got. She has our heart, she has our vision. She'll defend us even if she doesn't agree with us. She does what needs to be done. I'm thinking about Becky with Pastor Al, filling in all the holes that we leave. Those are amazing people who really lay down their lives because they've caught the vision, they understand the vision. Not only they caught the vision, they've caught your heart. And those are the dream team players.
And we've got lots of them, by the way. It's not like they're hard to find anymore. And I think it's because when you've got that culture built, it attracts people of the like culture as well. The people that join our ministries across Asia are people that, not just because they like the vision, there's lots of other visions out there, lots of other organizations you could work with, lots of other churches, but they like the heart. They like the culture that we have, the thing, our core values, the thing that we stand for, the way that we are for each other. And people know that if you as a leader are for them or just trying to use them. Right. They really, really know, and it doesn't take them long to figure that out. And it's not about how nice you treat them. It's like Pastor Rich said, it's not necessarily about agreeing with everything they agree with or anything, but that you care enough that you're going to bring correction, you're going to bring teaching, you're going to sit them down and say, you know what, I think we need to go this direction, let's do this, whatever it may be. And they see, you're doing that for my benefit. And so that's the kind of people you attract, and it grows more people like that. Yeah.
I heard someone on Trump's cabinet say, sometimes we get into the meeting and we discuss things, and I come in and I may not understand or even agree with what's happening, but as soon as that meeting is adjourned, we are all on the same page, and we leave that meeting agreement. So yeah. we agree to
It's
agree.
our decision.
That's right.
We are doing this.
Yeah.
It's not, well, they want to do this, I don't agree with it, but I'm going along.
Right.
That's so destructive, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes when you're in a season, it could be during the Bible school, you're doing stuff, maybe a project, whatever, and one of the team members, a couple team members, whatever it might be, their passion seems to be dissipating, right? It's leaving them. It doesn't seem to be the same. How do you go back and stir that up in that person again?
I think you really got to have some wins occasionally, right? The wins really help. When you start seeing God doing things, promote the wins. I know that I heard about one minister that they start all of their meetings with just testimonies first of what's God doing, because you can get so bogged down. I mean, the challenges are, every day you've got challenges. Every day there's hard work to do. Every day you're being stretched. So if you want to celebrate the wins, talk about the lives that are being touched, the lives that are being changed. And I just heard one today of somebody we prayed for 3 years ago that was totally healed. I had no idea about. Those are the things that are going to stir up passion again in your heart, that the labor that you're putting in, which is a lot of labor, it really is not in vain. So I think that's one thing that helps.
And I think, too, you'll notice that wherever the leader is not passionate, the ministry won't be passionate. The team won't be passionate. We always have to be the first ones to stir ourselves up. We have to be the first ones to intercede, to pray, to be fired up, because people aren't going to follow us in things that we're not willing to do. There's no such thing as a leader who can sit behind a desk and bark out orders. and have things done successfully. It just doesn't happen. We do it together. You know, I mean, that's what Jesus did. He said he took his disciples down onto a level place, and they healed the sick, cast out devils. Then it says he lifted up his eyes to them. He began to teach them the difficult lessons of discipleship. Moses did the same thing. God told him, or Jethro told him, he says, show them the work they must do. Don't send them to work. Show them the work they must do. If the leader's not willing to do it, don't expect people to be.
Yeah.
So then that coach mentality really isn't the right, it's not the right analogy, because the coach is the guy that's barking from the sidelines, right? But you're saying we're all on the same team when we're playing together.
Yeah, but I think too with the coaching analogy, when the team players, they understand that the coach plays a different role, and they can tell if he's for them, or if he's just doing this for himself. There's no way that Rich and I can do everything that's going on either. But people know that we're willing and we're interested and we want to know how they're doing, and we want, you know, so it's, I mean, I love the idea of living where we live, in the bottom floor of the lighthouse, and the students and the missionaries and everybody all lives there. If just for no other reason, I can say, hi, how are you doing? Just that touch. And there's times, a lot of times I'll go down to our building and I'll just walk through all the rooms and say hi to everybody, how you doing? Don't do it with a clipboard, but do it with your heart, you know, because people want to know that you care about them.
So what are some, sorry, what are some ways, like you mentioned a couple of things earlier, how you can begin to really train someone to be that right team player? Some like practical things that you do as a leader. You know, we have some things like mentor groups, but elaborate in your ministry what it is that you do with your young lions.
I think probably a lot of our team members could answer that question better, because they'd be able to tell you the things that really make a difference for them. I find hugs are good, you know, and and just that personal touch, like I say, and paying attention and noticing when someone's out of sorts, or they may be having a struggle. I really appreciate it when I'm having a struggle and my leaders recognize it and they come alongside and say, come on here, you know, let's encourage you. You're doing an awesome job. Encouragement, of course, is a big one, like Pastor Rich says, celebrating the wins, and also correcting things that aren't right. You've got to be the rudder of the ship, really. You have to be the captain, and they'll feel like they're wandering if the captain doesn't know where he's going and doesn't have his hand on the compass, and, you know, his eye on the compass and that kind of thing. So it's just a lot of those little details, and as leaders it's really easy for us to overlook them, forget the little details, but the fact is those details really make a big difference.
Years ago, I followed a coach. So, he was a coach of a wrestling team, and he put him in the championship 10, 15 years in a row. I mean, the guy was unbelievable. And I asked a couple of the wrestlers, what made him so unique? And their comment was, and I want to know what your comment is along this line, their comment was he understood the individual dispositions quite well. So the way he corrected the one was really different than the way he corrected another one. The one it would crush, the other one, that's what he needed for that turn to take place. And I thought that was so interesting, because he had two sets of twins on his team. And both, he treated them differently because the dispositions were different.
Yeah, that's very good. It's the same thing with raising your children. That's where I learned that in the first place, you know. I've got one daughter actually sitting in this room, and I never lifted a hand to her or any kind of spanking or anything, and because if she did anything that was a little bit off, all I had to do was look, and that displeasure of her dad would just smarten her right up. And yet there's other guys, man, we caned them with bamboo, you know, to get them to obey. So you really do, there's a real difference there, and I think that's because of the Father's heart. You recognize that and you understand that, so you're not abusing that. I love the sensitive ones. I love the ones in the ministry too, in our ministry team, who just watch your eyes, and they know right where to go and what to do. And that takes a lot of time. You've really got to live with people to be that, have that level of relationship. Yeah.
I think any good leader has to really be a student of people, and watch people, and again, as Pastor Al was sharing, be interested in them, in their life, in their future, genuinely interested in their life and their future. The other thing is this: out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So be a good listener. Don't do all the talking. listen to people, because sooner or later, what's in their heart will come out, and then you can minister to them in that area.
Excellent.
So how do you deal with the mistake of putting the wrong person in place? Maybe you didn't see something beforehand and like, uh-oh, they're in charge of some vital aspect of the ministry and they're, you know.
I've done that multitude of times, so I can comment on that. Again, it kind of depends. It's case-to-case basis. Sometimes you'll have a really good person as far as character and loyalty and things like that, but they're just in the wrong position. So you don't want to lose that person. You just want to move them out. So as Dr. George would say, is you promote them to another ministry. Promote them out of that position into another position. You know, you're doing a great job here, even though they're doing a lousy job. You're doing a great job here, but I really think maybe you'd be better in this area. Then there are other people that really the leader has made the mistake. I know that I've made the mistake of putting somebody in too soon, not really trying them, not really testing them, and then either they make a total mess of things, or they don't get the job done, or they completely slack off. So that's really your mistake. Yeah, you got to move them out, because what a lot of people don't understand, because it is so relational, and especially in Asia, it's very much relational. You've got to be gentle enough to move them out, because they're not being in the right position is actually affecting everyone negatively. Everyone. So sometimes in Asian culture, relationship is so important, and it is important. But sometimes it's so important that if you remove somebody, it's like, oh, you know, you did a terrible thing. But as a leader, you've got to be able to see the whole picture. And if they got a good heart, then you want to not just move them out, but move them into something else where they'll be more effective.
And if it's character things, again, you want to use the culture to define what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. And I find that I have a saying, when something's not right in someone's life that I'm to influence or to lead, I gently push until it breaks. You just keep pushing and keep pushing. You keep your expectations clear, and you keep pushing towards those, and they'll break one way or the other eventually. Either they'll say, okay, I'm out of here, or I see that I'm going to have to change something here. And again, as Pastor Rich is saying, the relationship thing, you got to understand that every person that you're leading, even every member in your church, they have a group of friends. Yep. And you don't get to talk to their friends, they do.
Yeah.
And yet, so you've got to be, again, very gingerly in how you approach that. But a lot of times, I think if we do things too secretively, we leave opportunity for offense. So that there's some cases, a lot of cases actually, where we need to deal with those things in a more public way. So that people, because everybody knows what's going on. We're not fooling anybody. They know that there's an issue here. And if we never talk about it, you know, you're just hiding it. It's better to bring it out in the open in a loving way, in a good way. And there's a lot of resources that we can get on that kind of thing. There's pastors who have a lot more experience than I do that'll, you know, can kind of walk you through that and how to do that. But I think one of the mistakes that I've made over the past is dealing with things too privately. You know, there's the thing, deal with criticism privately and praise publicly. It's not necessarily true. You know, in the Bible, they never dealt with it privately. It was always dealt with publicly, because the offense or the issue is not a private issue. It's affecting everybody. It's a public issue. So I think as leaders, we need to be bold, but also very gracious as well in how we deal with that, so that people know that we are actually dealing with it. Because one of the criticisms of people oftentimes is, oh yeah, pastor knows that's going on, but he's not dealing with it, right? He knows that person's living in sin, but he's not dealing with it. No, we are dealing with it, and so we need to let people know about that. It's a lot. It's a huge study, isn't it? But and I think too, you know, honestly, getting older helps. You know, I can say things now that people will accept. If I said it 30 years ago, they wouldn't accept it. Said exactly the same thing, exactly the same circumstance, they wouldn't accept it. Now they do, just because I'm old.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. For me too.
you've got somebody on your team, or you've got some potential people that you see, and you know that there are some character building that they need. There's some even, gift development that they need. What are some of the processes that you use to take some of these people from down here into being more equipped in character and in the giftings and just team ministry?
Our process is very simple. 7 weeks in Asia, then into VABC, and then, we don't accept 1-year applicants for VABC because 1 year is not enough to change character. We find 2 years minimum. And so if you get someone that wants to come back for the second year of VABC, the first time when they come, they think it's all a lot of fun. If they're going to come back the next year, they know that they're not coming for fun anymore. They're coming because there's seriously something here that they're connected to. And so, and that process as it goes, and then, again, our mentor groups where we spend a lot of one-on-one time, and then we do a lot of ministry together. We go out together, travel together. We like to have all of our senior missionaries take people. We like all of our people to go to all of our countries. And so there's that whole thing that goes, and that's the process of developing for me. Then we want to see the vision. One of the keys of Summit is that everybody gets together and sees that everybody else sees the same vision. And that really does us good. So.
Yeah, we as well, we have a very clear process as well. We've got what we call our Encountering God retreats, and we've got our Discover Your Destiny class and membership class, and then there's various trainings that they all go through. But I tell all of our leaders this, and a lot of times I tell it from the beginning. The process is there. We're not going to change the process because anyone who's not willing to go through the process is a problem already. Yeah. But really, it's not about the process as much as it is you want the people. During the process, you're watching them. Are they catching your heart? Are they catching your vision? Are they catching your culture? So, for example, we have people who come in there, they've already been pastors. Some of them have PhDs in theology. We say, all right, you want to be a part of this, you have to start here. That's the first test, right? Whether they're willing to start down here. A lot of them are not, so they leave. Those that are willing, a lot of those things that they go through, they've already heard, they've already learned, they've already seen before. So again, it's not just the teaching, but you're watching to see, is that guy catching our heart? Is he catching our vision? Is he catching our culture? How is he relating to other people? Is he a team player? So those are the things that you're watching during the process.
What you're describing to me is a saying that I always heard in the past, and I like what you guys are both sharing, Pastor Al and Pastor Rich, which is this system going through you, or are you just walking through the system? And so allowing that system to make its way through that person where he's accepted what's all come his way, rather than I'm just going to go through the system to get where I need to be, which can be two different things.
Absolutely.
And so I just love what they've described here, because it tells me that they're looking for team members that they got a hold of their heart. Right? They can trust them. They're patient people, faithful people, enduring people, and just very good.
Yeah, Pastor Tom, you're actually one of those people who has been to multiple Bible colleges and through multiple processes to get the heart of the people. Can you share a little bit about that process?
Well, actually, I've taught in multiple Bible colleges, and then I was going to begin the process with one, and things happened. But one of the things that they required of me, wherever I went from one church that had a major breakdown to another church, and each one had its breakdown. And they all required me starting right there at the door. And I had a pastor give me wise advice. He said to me, Tom, he said something very interesting. He said, Tom, if I had you in this church, and I had that great preacher come and want to preach here, I would sooner have you. I said, why? He said, because I already know your faithfulness. I already know you won't drop something into the laps of these people that would contradict what I'm doing. He said, that's what they're looking for when you go to another place. And he said, so if you can understand that, you'll understand walking through a process, grabbing a hold of what that leader wants from your life. And so that's kind of always stuck with me. So I look for certain things myself. I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm seeing what's able to make it through their heart. And so I love what you're doing, what you're developing there.
I think another thing is giving people little responsibilities, and then watch how they do those little responsibilities. Because again, you're looking for a servant heart, for one. You're looking for diligence. You're looking for faithfulness. So if you don't give people a little responsibility and then see how they handle that, you really won't know. I mean, people can put on a pretty good show, go through the entire process, be positive, be great, you know, yeah, we're with you, we're behind you, because really they want that, there's a position that they're looking for, but until you check them by giving them little responsibilities, I know Dr. Hazel says, ask them to do something they don't want to do, and then you'll really see where their heart is. So, and then you'll see the productivity as well. You know, if a guy can't grow a couple of Bible studies, how come he thinks he can pastor a church of 200 or 300? It's just not realistic. But somehow there's this idea that just give me a stage, give me a mic, and I'm gonna change the world. Okay, but can you grow a Bible study? Well, you know, God's called me to preach. Yeah, but can you you know, it's like, come on. The little responsibilities, and you watch and see if they're productive in what they're doing.
You know, I want to say something, you know, those in the audience. Listen to these leaders and these pastors. Listen closely, because that one point of wisdom can change your life. It can help you make decisions that can have a big impact. And like I say, this pastor back in North Dakota has said just a couple things to me that stick with me to this day. What he said 15 years ago. 13 years ago, whatever it was, that little thing, and I carry that with me on the inside of me. It's there. And so what you're sharing is really pearls of wisdom. Very good.
Any last pearls of wisdom that you have for us today about this subject?
Oh, I have a pearl for you.
Okay, bring it forth.
This is a very well-kept secret that most leaders don't know. You will receive your leadership input on 3 levels. The first level is those that lead you. So from our home country, we've got Papa Mervyn Medwick and Pastor Eve Bassett and Pastor Dave Myers, and just a lot of guys, a group of guys there that really input into our lives that I go to when I need some certain direction. And then we've got our peer level, which are the guys across, Pastor Rich, Pastor Peter, Pastor Joseph, all the guys that are working on the same level that we are in the ministry, guys that are leading a nation or whatever. And these guys are always great to get feedback and encouragement from. And I think all of us understand those 2 levels. But the third level that has been the biggest key to success in our lives is the people that you lead. It began when we had our El Shaddai family, 33 kids, and I'm a foreigner. I wasn't, he came fresh from Canada to Thailand, living in Thailand, raising a family of 33 kids. It was mayhem. We didn't know what to do, didn't speak much language, got ourselves into all kinds of situations where I didn't know the answer, and I got the answer from my kids.
Wow.
You listen to those you lead. That's where your eyes and your ears are. Those are the ones that know what's going on around you. They're the ones that can tell you what you need to do. They'll protect you. They'll advise you if you can open your... And a lot of leaders won't. Well, I have to lead these people. Man, I tell you what, I would be nowhere if it wasn't for my kids and for those that we now lead in the ministry. This room full of people here, particularly those of you that are working together in part of our Thai team. I listen to you all the time and get my understanding and direction. Because the fact is, see, you remember Korah? He said, well, everybody hears from God. The earth opened up and swallowed him up. But the fact is, everybody does hear from God. It's your attitude that makes a difference. And we've got people around us that love us because of our relationship. And because of that, they do hear from God, and we can hear from God through them. And so that's if pastors in your church listen to your people, like Pastor Rich says, you to be a good leader, you got to be a good listener. And listen to the people in your church. They know and they have a sense. And if you can discern that and use that as, how to put together. Because, I like to think that I'm led by the Spirit of God, which certainly we are. But a lot of it comes through our leaders, our spouses, our peers, and a big lot of it comes through those that we lead, because they're the ones that are the biggest beneficiary of our ministry.
Yes.
That's my pearl.
Amen. Amen.
Pastor Rich?
Yeah, for me, I think I would say to any upcoming leader or existing leader that there is potential all around you, unseen, untapped potential all around you. Yeah. Probably the number one thing that you'll ask, especially in the ministry, and any pastor, you'll say, what's your greatest need? You'll always hear this, we're lack of workers. Well, the fact of the matter is there's workers all around you. They're to your left, they're to your right, they're to your side. They're all around you. It's up to us as leaders to see that potential in others, that others might not see the potential there, to draw that potential out. There's tremendous potential. I mean, in this room, there's enough potential to change the world, literally. There really is.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Let's give them a good hand. Thank you so much for those pearls of wisdom. So, how to get the right people on your team? It really is being the right kind of coach who wants to, is willing to develop people even from the ground up, and willing to go through that process with them and listen to them, as I've been saying. So thank you guys for joining us for Platform TV. We'll see you next time. All right.